Welcome to the mighty blues train. Well, you paint me into a corner till I got nowhere left to run, yeah. Yes, I'm scrambling over rooftops out in the midday sun. Well, hold me up to the mirror, yeah, and tell me, what do you see, yeah. Check my heartbeat for that rhythm, well, and I'll be what I got to be, yeah.
4 minutes past 9 o'clock, that means it's Oz Blues time, and we've got a special Oz Blues tonight, live blues. Always a little bit excited to get live blues in the studio. And that track you heard was Heartbeat, and that was from a history-making album from Mr. Black and Blues and Chris Wilson called Blow These Tracks, live on the Blues Train. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I've got the man with me who is behind the project and who got that thing going. And what a wonderful CD it is. His name's Mr. Black and Blues. He's also known as Michael Pollack. Michael, welcome to Blues on the Hill.
Thanks very much, Baz. Great to be here, mate. Thanks for having me.
Okay, good to see you. Now, before we talk about the Blues Train and, like I say, this magnificent CD, which debuted at #1 on the Oz Blues charts, what a magnificent achievement.
You're very kind, mate. It's people like your fine self that put it there, and I'm forever grateful for the support it's had on community radio, and anything I could do to support community radio, I'm only too happy. So it was just overwhelming to have that response.
Let's just talk about people who don't know who Mr. Black and Blues is and Michael Pollack. Now, you were a bit of a latecomer to this genre, around about 19 years old. Tell us what happened around about 19 years old.
Well, so I'd always been into music, and I'd always been a great fan of everything from Elvis and John Spencer, all the way back to the earliest blues and roots stuff. When you start trying to get into the history of rock and roll, you're pretty much on a freight train headed for the blues. And so I'd been right into this kind of music for a long time, but I never really had the inspiration to want to make my own music, I guess. And when I was 19, I was at uni, and I happened to stroll into the Union building one lunchtime, and there was Jeff Lang, a long-haired, fresh-faced Jeff Lang, blazing away, and had a life-changing moment, I guess. I went back to my friend's dorm room after the show and picked up his guitar and learnt my first chords, and went home to Bendigo and asked. I heard rumours, many years before, that there was a guitar floating around somewhere in my mum's collection, and so after I spent a Saturday afternoon digging it out of the shed and dusting it off and getting it restrung, and it pretty much went everywhere with me for the next the next 9 months, really. I played until I could play. I never really had any lessons, but I guess watching people is the best way that anyone can learn, and by actually doing it. A friend of my dad suggested, I was trying to work out what I wanted to sound like, and I kind of had an idea, but I was still, searching, I guess, and somebody suggested I should go and see this guy called Tommy Emmanuel, and I didn't know who he was. The fact that none of my friends had come with me should have been a bit of a clue. So, but anyway, undeterred, I took myself off to the Conti, as it was then, amazing venue, and got a ticket, but it was there like way too early. So I went strolling down Chapel Street, and it was a beautiful summer's afternoon, and I heard this amazing acoustic music being piped out in the street, and found a door and swung it open, and at the other end of the room there's this spiky blonde-headed guy sitting behind a cherry red Maton guitar and just tearing the room apart with some of the best acoustic blues I'd ever heard. And of course that was Mr. Jeff Atchison.
And yeah, spot on. A jaw-dropping acoustic guitarist he is.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. And just reaching the height of his acoustic powers, I would say, at that moment. He just released Mystery Train. I went up to him and asked him about his music, and bought a CD, as all good punish should do to support their independent musos. There was one song that he played in that last set, which which I really enjoyed, but I didn't know it at the time, but it was on the CD. I got home and I couldn't sleep, inspired by this amazing evening of music that I'd seen. I saw the Tommy gig, but it didn't really move me, so I ended up going back and seeing Jeff, staying in the Muddy Waters Cafe until like 2 in the morning or 1:30 or whatever. Jeff finished his last set to buy that CD, and so I got home at like 2 in the morning and put the CD on, and this song that I really liked wasn't on the CD, so I did some research and I found an email address, I think on Jupiter 2 Records or something, and wrote him an email and told him how I'd been recommended to go and see Tommy Manuel because he was supposedly Australia's finest guitar player, but I ended up discovering him instead, and how Tommy was great, but didn't move me, but how Jeff's playing had really blown me away, and how I was really inspired by his by his playing and his whole story. And oh, by the way, that song that I really like isn't on the CD. Is there any way you can give me some lyrics or anything? And he obviously couldn't sleep either, because he wrote back like about an hour later or something and said the only way you're going to learn it is to come around to my house. So yeah, that was probably the second formative moment, getting to learn a song.
Private lesson from Mr. Atchison.
That's right. My fate as a blues man was sealed.
Absolutely, and like you say, it's the soul. It's just something that's coming out there that grabbed you. And
there's a life lesson in that for any aspiring musicians out there, I reckon. There's a lot of people out there who are great players. A lot of people who are fine technicians, and you've only got to go over to the States and wander around anywhere like Memphis or Texas, or every street corner there's a guy who sounds like Stevie Ray Vaughan, or plays like B.B. King, or whatever. And I'm not knocking that at all. I think anyone who's worked that hard to be able to play that well obviously deserves every bit of respect and credit they get. But they're I love that quote from Hubert Sumlin. He was interviewed for the Crossroads Festival, Eric Clapton's Crossroads DVD. Yep. It was the last one that he played, and he's talking about playing with Muddy, and he says, Muddy, you got to put some soul into it, man. You got to play it with soul, and that's what it's all about. It's all about you play music to express, not to impress. That's kind of the
absolutely yeah. I mean, it's all about passion and soul, like you say, and.
Sponsor 3NRG 99.3 FM.
You're back live. You are listening to Blues on the Hill. You're with Baz, and I've got Michael in the studio, and he's going to do us a live track. What are you going to do for us, Michael? And what's a bit of a story behind it?
So I might do a little number, All My Days. And this is a track inspired by, I guess, going to see my mum. She was, I didn't know it, but she used to be a singer back in the day when I was really small, because I hadn't heard her sing before. And it wasn't really until I started getting into music I started asking her about her own musical history, and over a bottle of red wine or two, this story poured out about how she used to sing back in the day and used to do kind of gospel choir stuff. And so whilst listening to this story, I just sort of had this idea start to come to me for, I guess, a thank you to her for all that she's done for me, and so it's called All My Days. I'm trying to find open skies above. Now that we're on our way, you're gonna be afraid anymore. You wanna see a rainbow, you gotta see a little rain. We got that light of the world, we're gonna let it shine. We got that light of the world, we're gonna let it shine. Light of the world, we're saying we're gonna let it shine. Light of the world, saying we're gonna let it shine. Light of the world. Yeah. I'm looking for wisdom, and all of my nights, yeah, I'm searching for peace. And all of my dreams, well, I witness the future. I look at the stars, feel my spirit released. Now that we're on our way, you're gonna be afraid anymore. You wanna see a rainbow, you gotta see a little rain. That light of the world, we're gonna let it shine. Light of the world, all saying we're gonna let it shine. Light of the world, light of the world, light of the world, saying we're gonna let it shine. Light of the world, oh, we're gonna let it, yeah. Light of the world, saying we're gonna let it shine. Light of the world, oh, we're gonna let it, yeah. We're gonna let it shine, oh, gonna let it shine. I'm looking for knowledge, and all of my nights